most of what we see is only the tip. When we talk about ethics, what's right, what's wrong, we're usually only brushing the surface, the decisions, the actions, the consequences. But beneath that lies a vast hidden structure of beliefs, questions, and centuries-old debates. This is the iceberg of ethics. And to truly understand morality, we need to go below the surface. At the top, we see the obvious. A person gives to charity. Another lies to protect a friend. Someone refuses to steal even when they're starving. We judge those acts, praise some, condemn others. But those judgments are only the visible tip of a much deeper moral framework. Where do those instincts come from? Why do we feel that one thing is noble and another disgusting? What are we really standing on when we say, that's wrong? Let's dive deeper. Just beneath the surface is our ethical reasoning, our whys. Utilitarianism says, do what brings the greatest good to the greatest number. It's pragmatic, efficient, and focused on outcomes. If lying saves lives, then lie. If sacrificing one person can prevent the suffering of many, then sacrifice. But hold on. Deontology would disagree. Immanuel Kant would argue that morality isn't about results, it's about principles. Never treat people as means to an end, he said. There are rules, duties, we must follow, even if the outcome isn't ideal. You don't lie, not because lying is harmful, but because truth is a moral duty. Because people have dignity, not price tags. These frameworks don't just guide decisions, they shape how we define justice, fairness, and integrity. But we're still not at the bottom. Let's go even further down. Now, we're entering murkier waters, where ethics meets psychology, culture, and human nature. Are our morals learned, or are they hardwired? Does a child raised in isolation feel guilt the same way? Is altruism just evolution dressing up survival strategies? Philosophers like Nietzsche challenged traditional morality, calling it a tool of control. Good and evil, he argued, were invented by the powerless to chain the strong. A radical idea, but it forces us to question, whose morality are we following? Is ethics universal or cultural? Can one society's justice be another's oppression? And what happens when our deepest values conflict? Justice versus mercy, loyalty versus truth, freedom versus safety. In these moments, the iceberg shifts, and suddenly we realize we're not standing on solid ground. Then, there's the deepest layer, where questions echo but answers fade. Is there such a thing as objective morality? Or are we all just creating meaning in the void? Do right and wrong exist without us, like math and gravity? Or are they human inventions, sculpted by language and fear? Even Socrates didn't give final answers. He just kept asking, because maybe the point of ethics isn't certainty, but courage. The courage to examine your own beliefs, to sit with uncomfortable questions, to act, not just out of instinct or tradition, but with thought, with awareness. So the next time you see an ethical dilemma, pause. Ask yourself, what's beneath this moment? What assumptions am I standing on? And what happens if I dive deeper? Because the truth is, most of morality is submerged, hidden, complex. But if we're brave enough to go below, we may just discover who we really are. Not just what we believe, but why we believe it. And that is where the real ethics begins. So the next time you feel that tug, that inner pull toward justice, or rage at injustice, or guilt, or pride, don't just react. Pause, breathe, ask yourself, not what should I do, but who am I becoming because of this choice? Because morality isn't just a compass, it's a conversation with your own soul. And the deeper you go, the clearer the voice becomes. Because in the silence beneath the noise, that's where truth begins to speak.
If this made you pause, if you're drawn to deeper truths and quiet strength, then you're in the right place. Like, subscribe, and keep exploring with us. See you in the next one.